The dollar bill, the Washington Monument, and the Library of Congress are all dripping with ancient African symbols. Did you know this? That's according to historian Anthony Browder, who has spent 30 years reaffirming the connection between the history and influence of Africa to modern times. He is author of several books, including Egypt on the Potomac, and I want to welcome him here. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. And I just want to also say our panelists are still with us. I'm glad they hung around. Kim Keenan, Rock Newman, and Drew Elons. So let's talk about Egypt on the Potomac. I think that that is an amazing concept, and you call yourself a, tell me your title.
Memory recovery specialist.
A memory recovery specialist. How did you come up with that?
Well, when you consider our history and the fact that our history has been erased, our past has been erased, and the erasure has been forgotten. We don't know, and we don't know that we don't know. So my role as a memory recovery specialist is to dig into our history, to uncover those things that we weren't supposed to know, and then reveal them to people with the greatest need to know this information.
That's amazing. Okay, so begin to tell me, because I don't know this information and I do want to know about it. So there are all of these monuments here in the Capitol that have all of the influence of Africa, of Egypt. Tell me about, and let's begin, like, for example, with the Lincoln Memorial.
Well, Lincoln Memorial is a temple that was built in honor of Abraham Lincoln. The statue inside of the Lincoln Memorial was crafted by a sculptor by the name of Daniel Chester French, who had traveled to Egypt before and seen the monument of Ramesses II at Abu Simbel, which has 4 images of the king sitting in his chair. He wanted to replicate that in America. Voila, the Lincoln Memorial.
Okay, so at the Lincoln Memorial, is that information there for people to read, to know?
No.
Well,
that kind of seems like a stupid question, right? Oh yeah, Mo. Like, yeah, it's right there in a big plaque.
I refer to it as a secret hidden in plain sight. Washington, D.C. is the city of secrets. There are secrets in the White House, the Capitol, the f.b.i, the c.i.a, NSA, but the greatest secrets in the capital, the greatest nation on earth, have literally been hidden in plain sight. What better way to hide a secret than to put it in the open where everybody can see it? And all you need to do is to separate people from their ability to remember what those symbols were. That's my job, to remind people.
That's amazing. Tell us about the Capitol building.
Oh, the Capitol building. Well, the Capitol building sits on Capitol Hill, but right behind the Capitol building is the Library of Congress, the greatest repository of history and knowledge in the world. So the Library of Congress is the American equivalent of the Library of Alexandria, where the repository of the ancient wisdom was made accessible to the governors of that land so that they can control the people and the resources of the land.
Okay, the Washington Monument.
The Washington Monument. The Washington Monument is what the Greeks refer to as an obelisk, but it is actually an ancient Egyptian symbol known as a tekken. That symbol is the oldest symbol of resurrection known to man. It came to symbolize the founding father of ancient Kemet, the original name for the country the Greeks renamed Egypt. So that king, Asar, was murdered and then later resurrected. That symbol represents the resurrection of this African man. It is a 6,000-year-old symbol of resurrection. So why is it here in D.C.? Why that symbol? Well, what you will notice is that you'll see similar obelisks or tekenu all around the world. Originally, there were 1,200 in ancient Kemet or Egypt. Today, there's only 7. There's more in Rome right now. There's a tekken in front of the Vatican. There's a tekken behind Central Park in New York City. There's a tekken on the banks of the Thames River in London. There's a tekken in the center of the Plaza de la Concorde in Paris. So these are all African symbols that represent symbolically, metaphorically, the resurrection of the founding father of ancient Kemet.
Drew, you told me that your son has been on this tour and you've been on this tour. And so tell me what that experience was like.
So for me, actually our family went, me, my husband, and our son, and we took Howard University's early learning program. It was a fundraiser. But one of the things that was for us and for our son was just he was amazed. And I like when you say you're a memory recovery specialist. So for him, everywhere we go, he was identifying tekken and was able to recall ancient Kemet. Like he really, literally, he was engrossed in that. And I think Meridian
Hill Park.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Meridian Park and when you stand in that space and what you see? I know it's probably kind of hard
and also
to visualize.
The money, because I also want the money.
Sorry, but the Meridian Park was really phenomenal when you stand in the middle of that.
Sure. Well, Meridian Hill Park sits on the D.C. Meridian, which is 16th Street. And 16th Street is what's considered to be a spiritual corridor of Washington, D.C. We have the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We have behind the White House, the Washington Monument was originally supposed to be positioned, and on the other side of that was the Jefferson Memorial. So these structures are aligned to the Washington Meridian, which symbolizes a spiritual corridor. So on the 7 miles of 16th Street, which extends from St. John's Church in front of the White House to its termination point at Eastern Avenue, you have over 55 churches, religious institutions. It is a spiritual corridor.
Wow.
So,
spiritual corridor.
A spiritual corridor. One of the names for 16th Street was the Avenue of the Churches, or God's Boulevard, because of that significance.
Because of that. Now tell us about the symbol, the money symbol.
Symbols on the dollar bill. All right, today is Friday the 13th. It's a day which some people consider to be unlucky. Psychologists have coined the phrase triskaidekaphobia, which is the unfounded fear of the number 13. Well, if 13 is an unlucky number, then why is the number 13 repeated 13 times on the dollar bill? On the reverse of the Great Seal, you have a pyramid with 13 courses of stone. On the front of the Great Seal, you have an eagle holding an olive branch with 13 leaves and 13 olives. In the other claw, he holds 13 arrows. On his chest is a shield with 13 stripes. In his mouth is a banner with the words E pluribus unum, comprised of 13 letters. And above his head is a cluster of 13 stars. So 13 is not an unlucky number. It relates back to the founding father of ancient Kemet, Asar, whose body was cut into 14 pieces, but his wife only found 13. So 13 symbolizes the remembering of the body of Asar, which is why you have 13 courses of stone on the pyramid, which symbolizes the body of the United States, 13 colonies coming together, and the 14th part is encased in a square with an eye on top of the pyramid.
Okay, blow my mind with all of this. With all of this information, and
Can I give an unsolicited shout out real quick for Kathy Hughes and Alfred Ligon and Roland Martin for having this particular show, because you don't get this knowledge is not dropped elsewhere.
Please tell everybody where they can find you, how they can take the tour, and all the information they need to get in touch.
They can go to our website, which is www.ikg-info.com. Simple and easy, we're there.
Okay, and is there a phone number, or just go to the website?
They can go to the website and get all the contact info.
That's just amazing, and especially during Black History Month. I mean, this is, if you ever want to go ahead and learn this information, this would be the perfect time. But any time during the year is great. It's Egypt on the Potomac, and Anthony Browder is the author.